hourly, earnings jumping up for the month, and wage growth 5.1% for the past year. Bhushan, what stood out to you when you took a look at some of these different sectors and the growth that we're seeing in the majority of areas?
Yeah, when I look at businesses and they look at this data, they look at the JOLTS data, they look at the number of openings, it's clear that the labor market's still strong, but it's cooling. The number of job openings on Wednesday's report actually went down. We now have 1.7 openings to the number of job seekers. So it's cooling there. And some of those areas that actually show job gains, like leisure and hospitality and healthcare, have both reduced their openings. So there is this kind of cooling. This inflation point is not going away. We now have 5.1% kind of wage growth year on year. Inflation is, in the sevens and eights, and that is the challenge. Businesses are actually having to pay up more because we still have labor shortages in those industries. So as businesses look at this, they're looking at all of the data points. They're looking at claims data. They're looking at the GDP growth that we saw. They're looking around the world at kind of instability. They're looking at supply chain challenges. So this is yet more evidence, Elizabeth, that labor still has significant power in this market, even though it's cooling.
Yeah, and restaurants and healthcare, that was, the places where the economy added jobs pretty much everywhere in big numbers in those two places. But then you've got a couple of spots where you're seeing, those negatives. That's going to be in the warehouse and the retail.
Yeah, I mean, retail is just an evidence that, and we saw this through Black Friday and Cyber Monday, Elizabeth, that people are comfortable with digital channels. Those consumer preferences have changed. There's labor shortages in retail. The consumer's comfortable kind of buying on digital channels. So that's why businesses are doubling down on their investments in technology and digitizing their businesses. The other important one is we have to talk about the tech sector. Mm-hmm. The headlines are all about layoffs. If we think about layoffs overall, it's less than 1% in the JOLTS report, and conflicting. Even in the tech sector, this morning's jobs report showed that there's 10,000 kind of jobs increasing. So that one's a kind of a confusing one that we're going to be looking at in terms of the information sector. And yes, this is a lagging indicator, but the tech layoffs aren't really kind of a good signal of the strength of this labor market right now. For a number of months in terms of the stubborn labor force participation, it's at 62.1% now. Yeah. We've got to kind of make work more attractive for caregivers. We've got to bring people back who've maybe retired. We've got to have accommodations for people who want to work fully remote because they're health compromised or kind of different abilities. So that if we want to increase it, we have to make some systemic changes in the way we educate, in the way we kind of govern and make policy, and the way businesses kind of step up in terms of seeking talent that they haven't sought before. And flexible work is part of that. Not every business wants to hear that, but that's the reality.
Right. I mean, you look at that 62.1%.